Hello guys, this is Retro Experts and Sam. Welcome back to, welcome to a little bit of an editorial session. I did make a community post about maybe 2 weeks ago saying if anyone wants like these little like mini editing tutorials inside of Final Cut Pro, you're very welcome to. I know most people who watch this probably don't even have a clue what Final Cut Pro is, but it may just be useful for anyone out there who may happen to use it and may want to create anything that is interesting or may make your footage look twice as better. So basically today I'm basically overrunning a commentary over some just a screen recording of what I was able to capture inside of Final Cut. This is not my actual intro. This is not how I made it. I made it a little bit differently with, I don't know, maybe a bit more time spent, but this is just a little quick overrun on how you can kind of get a similar effect to that, kind of like a light orb, kind of atmospherical kind of effect on anything really. I think I used it in one of the synth waves a few days ago and stuff like that. So basically, if you open up Final Cut Pro, I'm just looking back at my screen recording now. Unfortunately I recorded it in 720p, so a bit of a mistake, but basically as you can see I'm overrunning my TTE Intro 2022, and that's basically what it ended up looking like. But what I've got in Final Cut Pro here is basically just an example. So as you can see, I've got my timeline and I've got my preview at the very top. You can't miss it. So as you can see, I'm just unselecting the layers. I've got my logo and I've got the A roll, which is just something I downloaded off YouTube, some copyright free background stars. As you can see, I've got a transition there, just like a light orb effect, kind of like a lens flare kind of light orb effect, just to make it look even better, which you can do by just going into transition. So as you can see here, I go to effects panel, I go to main blur. I did save this, but I think if you select one of the blur, I think it's called Gaussian or something like that. I'm showing it off here. Blur, as you can see, it's the second one down from directional. So if you just select that, drag and drop it into Final Cut or into the timeline, you can download presets as well, like preset effects and stuff like that. See there, focus. You can also do other things there as well with saturation. If you want things looking kind of like cinematic and stuff, I'd recommend turning down the saturation, increasing the exposure and lowering the saturation, because it kind of makes things look a little bit more atmospherical again. I think I've got mine too high, so I think I select it at 6. There we go. In the colour board there. You don't have to do that, it's just an option. So if we go back to focus, this is the one I'm mainly focused on. As you can see, that sets the focus. It is, I don't know what the effect's called. I think it's called Gaussian or something like that. Something like that. But anyway, as you can see, we've got our green screen stars. I select the Kia, which is basically, it removes the green screen. So it kind of becomes like a PNG file. So as you can see, you've got star bulbs effect there in the background. But as you can see, it looks a little bit too sickly, a little bit too much. So what I do, I go to focus, which kind of creates a, it kind of creates a focus in like a circle. So everything around that focus is blurred, so you can set the height, the width and everything like that. As you can see, I'm just explaining there what's going on. It's kind of hard to predict your commentary when you're recording something that's going to be showed in the future. So as you can see, I select my width. I think my width is 86 and my height is 64. That's what I usually use, and then the amount I can just change. It's kind of like a master volume, the amount. So you can kind of just set it to 30 or anything you want really, depending on how blurry. If you want it at 100, you can set it at 100. Make things look a little bit too blurry. If you kind of want like a little bit of a focus in the middle. As you can see, we're focusing the stars here, kind of like the orbs everywhere. And then the emphasis, you can just set the emphasis to 50. That's what I do. And then the softness. I normally set the softness to around maybe 50 to anywhere around 500. So as you can see here, I'm setting it to 50. Depending on how the softness kind of sets the transition between the blur and the focus, and the emphasis kind of affects like the highlights, so you don't really need to worry about emphasis. So as you can see, I'm just comparing the two footages, the TTE intro compared to this reference footage I've got here. It's all stock footage as well. I haven't made it. Also, what you can do, as you can see here, I'm zooming into the the star particles, orbs, just to make it look like there's fewer of them. So if I zoom in, the other ones are out of frame, so that kind of makes the you just don't want too many orbs, because we've got orbs in the background, we've got particles in the foreground. So as you can see, you can change the opacity to make it look few or fewer stars. As you can see there's fewer of them in the foreground, or the particle effect. You can increase it if you want more stars or more transparency for the stars. So it just makes things look a little bit more glowy, and it's just more, in fashion with kind of like cinematic stuff, because if you look at cinematic stuff, you kind of see like more like orbs in the background and blurs and highlights, and as you can see there, it's looking pretty similar. So what I do here, I think I'm going to make a compound clip, so I'm going to compound or combine all the clips into a solid state, so I won't be able to go back to the star particle effect, the TT logo white border. As you can see, I'm just showing off here how it's looking and stuff like that. I think I may need to render it just because the playback is super jumpy. So as you can see here, I click right click, other clip, that's made it a compound clip instantly. And then what you can do here, you can add a letterbox effect. So if you just type in or I think the effect is actually called letterbox or crop. You can do it by the crop setting, but I usually just select letterbox. You can add a letterbox effect to make it look more, like a movie. Some movies are recorded with or filmed with a letterbox around it. Sometimes it's put in post-production, but as you can see there, we're just rendering it just so we have less stuttering going on at the start. The start is the most important part, because we've got a transition going on there, so we want to see how that blends in with the main footage or the main rendering here. So as you can see, that looks pretty good. That looks pretty similar to my main intro. Obviously I put more focus onto my, or when I say focus, I don't mean effects focus, I mean more time focus on my TTE one. As you can see, we're just adding a fade here, fade to black or fade to colour, just so the outro looks a little bit more smooth, so it doesn't just suddenly jump to footage or whatever we're transitioning, because this is an intro, you've got to bear in mind. But this can be applied to anything. This can be applied to A-roll footage, B-roll footage, anything you want to kind of make it look a little bit atmospherical, and kind of just a little bit of a trick with editing. So there we go, we've got a nice star effect with particles. You can ignore the particles, you don't have to add particle effects, but if you just want kind of like a cool blur and stuff, because we've blurred between the background and basically a green screen PNG shot here. So we've kind of blurred two types of footage together, so it kind of looks like almost as if these star particles are part of the same footage, even though it's different sources of views. So I hope you enjoyed, hope you found this helpful. This is my kind of first kind of tutorial on Final Cut. Normally I'm quite quiet with doing this sort of stuff, so so you don't really see what goes on in the background. So thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed. Hope this helped in any way. Anyone who hasn't stumbled across the channel before, hopefully this may have helped you come up with some ideas on how you can maybe use this or integrate it into your own footage. It certainly made my footage look a little bit more interesting, so I will be using more of it in the future. I know with green screen effects, I know there's kind of like a whole kind of enigma around it. People go, no, your footage looks cheap and tacky and stuff if you had kind of like green screen effects. It depends on how you implement it and how you execute what you're doing. But I think what I did and what we've been able to get away with, that looks pretty good. It looks decent for what people would expect on YouTube now, or whatever. It depends on the type of footage you're going to be using it for, because at the end of the day it is an effect. So if you're using it with kind of like an interview, it's going to look pretty crap. It's going to look like, why is there stars floating around his head or around the microphone or in the podcast? But if you're using it for kind of like A-roll or B-roll, or you're just filming in the woods and stuff, and you kind of want like a cinematic effect, it can be great for that sort of purpose. So I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching. I'll see you all later. Bye.